Stop talking about AI. Stop talking about AI, because what you need to understand is like, this is a massive advantage to you if you do this correctly, which is you recognize that their wants and needs have not changed. Your job is to still fulfill these outcomes, but your advantage is you can now use AI to do it. What you need to do though is stay 1,000 miles away to trying to connect the two. So if you're an agency, think about how do you use this new advantage so that you can deliver those same outcomes in a better, faster, cheaper way. That's what you need to do. Use AI, but do not talk about AI. Talk about the outcomes. Put yourself in their position. Talk about what it is that matters to them, and you'll do great. I'm not particularly intelligent. I'm not particularly, skilled in anything. If anything, I just refuse to quit. If I can do it, I really do think a lot of people can do it. So I think, if you're on your journey and you're getting your butt kicked, trust me, I've been there. I mean, when I got ejected from that business, I was under threat of lawsuit. And I cannot tell you, I spent an entire summer just walking around listening to the Nelson Mandela story, trying to make myself feel better. It was a depressing, difficult time. So trust me, I've been there. We're all in different places on our journey. And if we can come together in any context to help each other, like, why is that a bad thing? And the good news is, it's us against the world. It's not us against each other. So it's a great opportunity to connect. And, we're all different. I'm not that social of a person and I have a hard time talking to strangers, but man, if I think somebody's interested in something I'm interested in, I'm really excited. And so I like that we have different opportunities for different personality types to connect in different ways. But for anybody out there who's like listening to this and like, well, I could never do that. Actually, you can, right? Because even if you just open it for an hour a day or something, you're still winning, right? Like that's still progress. It's incremental and it's still super impactful, right? You don't have to be 24/7 to get started to make a big impact on your customer. I think I have the right, I'm in the right place and I have the right people on my team. Like I know the right people. So like when the challenges come, I feel like I know all the people that will know the answers on how to overcome them. So I don't really worry about that. I worry that every day I'm waking up, my team's waking up, and we're doing justice by our customers. That's my worry. And so long as that happens, the future will take care of it itself, in my opinion.
Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of the Leverage and Lead podcast. Our guest today is one of the co-founders and CEO of HighLevel, a white label platform that supports over 2 million businesses, hit $82 million in revenue, and made the Inc. 5000 list 3 years running. Shaun Clark, thank you so much for joining us today.
Wow, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Shaun, I have to ask you, one of the things I absolutely love the most about you is you are so community centered. And I see that reflected in so many of your business decisions. One especially that I completely admire is your ability to answer questions in the Facebook group. I don't even know how, as busy as you are, how you have the time or even the patience to respond to these questions of everyone who tags you.
Well, thanks. We wouldn't be here without our customers. And, to be quite selfish about it, I think I learn more from the people that we serve than I have to give. So for me, it's kind of fun because I think I get an opportunity to learn just as much and probably more in the process of helping than I think I give. And I think when you have customers like we do who, really are experts in what they do, it's pretty cool. So, for me, it's like I couldn't ask for a better audience to work with. And so I guess to me, it just seems like kind of fun and the natural thing to do.
So how do you keep the joy in that? And supporting the customers? Does it ever just get super mundane? It's like somebody else tagged me in it's like contact support.
Mundane, no. Sometimes it can be a bit discouraging depending on the attitude of the individual. But what I always try to keep in mind is that even people who maybe on the face of it are like really angry, they're just angry because they don't feel like someone is caring about them. And if you really just sort of take a beat and try to see behind what they're saying, there's something to learn there, right? So and if anything, it's sort of like, if I ask myself, would I ever want to have that person feel the way they do? And the answer is always no. And so it's like, okay, well, worst case, I can just learn how they missed the answer that they were looking for, right? So for me, it's always something to learn. And even if that's, even if the feature they want is there and the thing they wanted to do is there, they just missed the help doc or whatever. It's just making sure how as a business can we make sure that doesn't happen to the next person. So for me, It's just, how can I help that person be successful?
I think I'm just surprised that you're so approachable and available at the scale that you are. I
Ooh,
have
I have
less
something to
than,
say about that actually. So
yeah, do please
along the
do.
way, lots of people will give you advice that they honestly think is good. And one of the things that I hear, because it sounds cool to say, is like, what got you here won't get you there. That is total rubbish. What got you here will probably get you there. In fact, in our case, it absolutely will. Like, I think I think what someone's saying, I think what people try to say there is like, the idea, like, I'm trying to remember what fancy person said this, but that some VC investor guy said, well, start with things that are unscalable and this and that. But and then later on, you can make it less unscalable, more scalable, whatever. But the reality is like, I disagree. I think the sort of like heart of what you were doing obviously worked. And so for you to get away from that, I think is a massive mistake. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't need help. Like, we wouldn't be here without, I mean, the team that we have, like, I couldn't do it at all without them. But the fact that you don't remove yourself from the front lines and like wash yourself of it and be like, oh, this isn't my job. Like, oh, this is like that. I just took out the trash because I had to, but now that I don't, I'm out of here. Like that says everything to everyone. And I think leadership comes from the top. So if you're not willing to do something, like, why should I be willing to do it? And so in my team, it's fun because no one can say like, well, I don't talk to customers or whatever. I mean, just, it never even doesn't leave anybody's mouth because they know what's coming, right? They can't, if I'm willing to do it, they can't not be willing to do it. And so, and I can't think of a better way to build a business. Like, you're in service of someone else. So to not talk to them and communicate with them, I think it's a huge mistake. But to the people who are out there who are on their own journey, when someone says like, oh, well, that's great that it works for you, but someday, you're going to have to be more scalable and this and that. Like, yeah, sort of, maybe, kind of, but like, if you get away from the heart of what makes your business special, you're going to go downhill fast. So I think adages like that are, nonsense.
I absolutely love that. And I think that, like I was saying, your love for community is reflected in the software because of the way that you build things based off the ideas board. It's like, if more people want it, that's going to be at the top of the list. What made you so customer centric? What made you like, okay, customers the top priority, we need to get their feedback to build? Because I think a lot of software developers, they just build hypothetically, like, oh,
Yes.
I think they're going to need this because this other software has it. And what made you take a different approach?
Oh, probably making that mistake. So when we first got started, so it's like, it's like when you come back from Las Vegas, people are like, hey, how'd it go? And no one's ever like, well, I burned a bunch of money and I maxed out my credit cards and, I'm in super debt. Everyone's like, comes back a winner. So in the game of business, people often do the same thing, but I hate doing that because I think it's just, it's disingenuous. But so when we first started out, we absolutely had the same intentions we have today, but we built this thing called Service Pro Max. It was supposed to go out and help plumbers, and we spent 6 months building it, and HVAC and field services and all this. And we took it out, and I had like a bunch of people, customers at the time, like potential customers, and I went to them, and they were like, yeah, this is cool, but like, what does it do that these other things we already have don't do? And very quickly, it was a big fat failure, and it only took us like 6-9 months to build it. So that very quickly taught us like that was really stupid. And also, I think it taught us that, if you really want to help someone, you need to understand their problems. And so, like, going back to like good things to kind of live by in business, like, really know your strengths. So in our situation, like, we think we're really good at building stuff, but we also know our weaknesses. And I think this is just as exciting and important. We're terrible at good ideas, like new ideas, good ideas. We don't know what to build. And so when you know that about yourself, the mission I think a lot of people put themselves on is like, okay, well, I need to get better at that. No, you don't actually. In fact, the more you try to get better at something you're bad at, the worse you get at the thing you're good at. So just go find other people who are really good at it. And in our case, we're super, super lucky. All of our customers are geniuses when it comes to this stuff. And you know what? They want this stuff to come to life because they need it in their lives every day. And so for us, we just live in this beautiful world where we just go ask for customers that we know they know the better ideas. And, it is hard because, early on, it was like we would go with like the loudest person in the room, but we very quickly realized that was a dumb mistake because sometimes we get into weird situations where people like, they would pound the table like, oh, you must have this. And then we would develop it and we'd bring it out and be like, okay, great. How many customers do you have? And they'd be like, well, 0. But, I really think it's a good idea. And we're like, oh, that was dumb. But that's okay. You live and learn. And so meritocracy is the way it works. So that's what the ideas list is. You vote it up. And, it's messy, imperfect system, but it's the best we've seen. And if more people want something, the likelihood is they're right. And you just ask them how to build it. And as a team, as a community, we all come together and magic happens.
Shaun, going back so far and, back to the end of 2020, I remember you were the support, a lot of people that, came up through the ranks have jumped on many, many support calls with you. And I personally think that was helped to develop the service mentality that you as an organization has. And
Sure.
it has just flowed throughout the years. And I've seen that the service and the commitment that you exhibited has rolled in to service throughout the organization. And so I know so many people would like to say thank you for that. And also your commitment to continuing to develop the customer service branch of the organization where people can call in and get support. A lot of times there is some bad rap, but I just want to say that personally, it's been a great experience for me and for our organization. Can you elaborate a little bit about what your vision is there? Do you have any kind of new tricks that are coming? Anything that you're working on rolling out that is, going to promote the customer service aspect a little differently or even potentially better?
Good question. Okay, so I've always said the best software in the world without great customer service is worthless, and that hasn't changed. So, we always try to think of ways to make customer service better. And I think, to be fair, the way I look at that is making the product better. So, like, if the product flows better, wizards, I don't know, like getting them started, whatever, better UI, UX, all of that should eat back against the need for support.
Mm-hmm.
And these days, I think AI is quality enough to also step in and especially like on level 1, I would say is probably where, AI is as good as level 1, because level 1 is, to be fair, is like, you're like 2 weeks of training and you're on the job. AI can really do that job about as well as a person. So all of that comes together to probably eat back against support. But the core of what support is, in my opinion, is it's about, okay, I've tried all of your other tricks, people, and now I'm out of options. I need help. And so for me, I'm actually really proud to say, no, I don't want to change it at all. I love how it works, because at the heart of it, the goal is to get you on a Zoom call with a human being as fast as possible, right? And here's how I think about this. It's like anybody can think about this. Anytime you call, like these days, especially like you call an airline or you call it whatever, you don't call these days because you're like, well, I went into the portal. I didn't go into the portal. I didn't look around. I didn't try at all. No. We all call them at the same time. It's like, I've tried everything, you idiots. I'm calling because I've already tried all the things. And so I think more than ever, support needs to go like skip around any kind of gates, go right to a human being, because everyone has already tried the self-serve. Don't try to get me to go to don't say on the thing, please, you can always do this on my website, on our website. It's like, no, duh, you idiots. Of course I can do this on your website. We all know that. And so the same thing here. So for me, the way I look at, I've always told Ian, who runs support, he's, by the way, our first official hire, second official hire. I said, listen, I hate to break it to you, man, but you are like the dumping ground for everybody else's like bad mistakes or not done right yet or getting there or a feature doesn't exist. I apologize, but that is your job. Your job is to take the hard news, but our job is to make it so that less and less people show up by percentage at your door. And every team, by the way, is graded on this, because Ian has for many years taken the brunt of all the pain, and he has more than earned it to not take the bad questions. But for raw support, I want people to go right to a human being, because that's exactly what I know. You tried, you clicked the button, you did the thing, you looked at the help article, you asked AI, you're done. Like, you want a person. So for me, no. Outside of making the product better, we're always going to make support as human as possible, and we're never going to stop that.
I love that. I think that when you implemented that, where we could just jump on a Zoom call if we needed you, I think that was a pivotal moment in providing support for HighLevel. So thank you. I'm sure
Totally.
everybody else appreciates that too.
Well, and for the record, we still learn a ton. Like Ian and his team, and this is fun about this is it's a cool virtuous cycle because the other thing is, right, back to telling Ian, like I say, listen, you need to tell me what other people aren't doing right for you. And what I mean by that is like if you get lots of tickets around a particular product area, like product managers know that stuff. And that starts to eat back into their KPIs and into their job performance. And so what's cool about it is the long-term goal is like, hey man, is there something that's consistently coming up? If there is, let's make it better because we know that tickets, I always tell people like, look, a ticket just means like, help, I'm in pain. We need to like solve for that. And it's not that all tickets will go away forever, but boy, can we make some really big wins by simply focusing on those bigger areas. And so it's a fun way and to really push back into the product and make the product better while helping people.
Are you a coach or consultant trying to build your business with HighLevel, but feeling overwhelmed and overworked? Are you putting in long hours, but still struggling to land your first client? You're not alone. Many entrepreneurs believe they just need to work harder. But what if your problem isn't your work ethic, but your lack of a system? I've spent the last 6 years perfecting a system called the Vision Blueprint. It's a structured method to build a successful business with HighLevel without the burnout. Stop the insanity of endless trial and error. Join my free community today and get access to all my tutorials plus live coaching with me 4 days a week. Let me personally guide you as you implement this system and build the life that you want, not just the business. Now, back to the conversation.
You know, when I first came to HighLevel, I was blown away that you guys had open office hours. Of course, this is like 2020, open office hours. And I was like, that is a genius idea. And I literally implemented that in my own business. And I have
bringing up a really good point, actually. You're right, because it used to be limited, I think.
Yeah.
But see, this is the fun part about it. So like, I think it's a wonderful example because think about what you just said. So like today I'm like, oh yeah, I was just about to say, oh, they're 24/7, 365, and that's great. But here's the fun part for anybody out there who's like listening to this and like, well, I could never do that. Actually, you can, right? Because even like, I'm sure you're about to say this, but even if you just open it for an hour a day or something, you're still winning, right? Like that's still progress. It's incremental and it's still super impactful, right? You don't have to be 24/7 to get started to make a big impact on your customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that was my thinking of that because I am available 1 hour a day, 4 days a week. It's not too much. But what I absolutely love is when people have problems, I'm not sending them to a tutorial or a knowledge-based article. I'm saying just hop in and I will just help you because we know as business owners, we're all so busy. The last thing we want when we're stuck with a problem is to be sent to another support person or just watch this video. And, you know, we don't want that.
Like, I've already watched the video, you idiot. That's how I'm here. If I just watched the video, I'd have done that and not talk to you.
Exactly. I love that. So thank you for that idea because it has worked great for me.
Well, you know what? As always, I am not a very good person when it comes to ideas. I steal all of my best ideas from others. That one I will give credit to the Verizon store and the Xfinity store for anybody who knows the fact that. But yeah, both of them have the same thing. They have the check-in concept. They have they have sort of the real life waiting room. I stole that idea and implemented it the best we could figure out in Zoom.
And, you know, I opened mine up to the whole community and there's so much power. And like, I know that at your scale, you can't do that. But there's so much power in learning from other people. Even if it's not your initial problem, you may run into it 2 days later.
No, we do this. We do actually do this. So the fun part, is the other magical part. So you come into the room and the number of people who are like, this is what I kind of thought about the Verizon store. Like you're in there, you're kind of milling about and you're like doing like whatever. And I thought, well, what a cool social experience. But what happens in our room is like you can hear kind of just like in the Verizon store, like you can hear what the other person is like dealing with. And a lot of times we're like, oh, hey, I dealt with that last week. Here's the answer. And people help each other in that room before they ever get served. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that is the power of community. And people it makes them feel more comfortable, even if they maybe wanted to reach out to that person because then they feel like they know them a little bit more. So 100%. I love that. Yeah. It's kind of a miniature version of all the events when we all go. And it's like Facebook in real life.
Each other, right? I mean, and if you can help, everybody feels good when they help another person. Yeah. And, you know, we're all in different places on our journey. And if we can come together in any context to help each other, like, why is that a bad thing? And the good news is it's us against the world. It's not us against each other. So it's a great opportunity to connect. And, we're all different. I'm not that social of a person, and I have a hard time talking to strangers, but man, if I think somebody's interested in something I'm interested in, I'm really excited. And so I like that we have different opportunities for different personality types to connect in different ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So Shaun, I have to know, let's go back to like little Shaun, like when you were growing up. Where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was it like for you?
Sure. Only child, I'm sure you could guess. Single mom. My mom was a mechanical engineer, and growing up, I was always I felt so fortunate. I felt like she was the best mom on planet Earth, and I watched how hard she worked to give me everything I needed. But I also watched the struggle, and I think I think some of it was, like female in a man's world kind of thing. But I also just watched in general, like economic swings. Like one day she had a job and she was at an office and she was going along, but then the economy took a dive and then she was out of a job. And it was like, well, what did you do wrong? And it was like, oh, well, nothing. They fired like 100 people that day. And I was like, damn, that sucks. So I was like, well, what's the answer to that? Right. Because my mom told me, look, you got to go to college. And I believe that. But one of the things that I really was always dismayed to see is how, despite like all of that, you could still be sort of at the sort of receiving end of somebody's like decision on a spreadsheet, even though you quote unquote didn't do anything wrong. And so I always try to find a way out of that. And so I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. In fact, it was the weirdest word for like, I don't know, like just make up a word. And it was that weird for me. Like I didn't get it, but I just kind of kept driving towards it. And I got like down the self-help route for a while thinking that was entrepreneurship. And then I found out that's not what it was. I didn't have any business owners in my family, so I didn't know. And my mom, bless her heart, she would give me any support she could, but she didn't know anything about it either. So it was a weird world and windy way to get there. But that I sort of discovered that early on. And I just thought, okay, somehow, some way, I just want some control over what the outcome is. Like I realized there could still be a down economy, but like I just didn't want to have like the final answer be like you're fired because somebody else said so. Like I just wanted some control over it. So maybe growing up, that was my driving thing. And again, back to the amazing mother I had, I got an Apple IIe, which dates me, but back when that basically was like the price of a new car. And I think my mom no doubt went into major debt to get it. But she did. And she saw the power in computers and she cheered me on. And I was super nerdy. I love computers. And I saw that I love the power of them to change the world. I sort of saw that coming in some sense. I'm not smart enough to say I saw everything there is today by any means. In fact, I'll go on record as saying when I first saw the first iPhone, I said, oh man, that's never going to catch on. Who the heck is going to use that thing? It has the tiniest screen on planet Earth. To be fair, they did blow up the screen, so it is a bit bigger now. But all that to say, with the support of my mom and just being a super nerd, that's who I am. That's where I came from. That's who I am today.
HighLevel agencies. If you work with roofing companies, HVAC, or other home services businesses, this is your chance to improve your retention forever. LeadStreak is the first white label app for appointment dispatching, route planning, and door-to-door canvassing. It's fully customizable and brandable for each of your clients. You get unlimited sub-accounts, unlimited users, plus it works on mobile or desktop. Clients can import leads for their field reps, assign territories, and even communicate with the office inside the app. Start your free trial at marlaharmon.com.
So what was the first business that you started? Because we did an episode with Paulson, and he said when he was in high school, he would burn CDs and sell them to his classmates. Did you have a business like that, or just something that was really open your eyes?
Not cool with that. So the difference, right? I mean, you've seen Paulson. So first of all, he sort of looks like he's not like sort of like what a Greek god might look like. He's sort of in that camp, right? So you got to imagine that guy's always looked gorgeous. He's always had good. He's always been social, friends, that kind of thing. I'm like the antithesis, right? So super nerdy dude. No one's bothered. Like I would run for student council, and I'd have to get there at like 5 a.m. to put my signs like way up with a ladder so no one could rip them down. That's me. Now I deserved a little of that because I was kind of a speak truth to power kind of guy. But all that to say, I defined something that was super techie. And so my first business was actually doing websites for people. And this was back in the day when you like buy a rack at like some computer center, kind of weird stuff. And I would like run, and you had to like know how to install Linux and do all kinds of crazy stuff, just get a website running. But I love that. And then, and so that was kind of like my first business, but I was always hustling. I wanted a job as soon as I could get it. So I remember I worked at Baskin and Robbins in the mall when I was 14. My mom had to drive me there and I could only work 4 hours. I think it was like 20 hours a week, 4 hours a day, something weird like that. Just because like I was so young. But that was like, I was always like, boom, boom, boom. Like, what can I do? But websites were definitely like running servers, websites, stuff like that. That was my first business for sure.
Was it successful? I know it wasn't high level successful, but did you at least get a little taste of like, whoa?
Yeah. I mean, I very quickly found that the people who would hire a 15-year-old kid to do that started to move a little bit into the shady side. So I did eventually have to like pull back from that and say, I'll take this job at Staples for a while. I did end up getting an internship at Intel when I was in, and I remember, and I forgot her name, but wherever she is, I just like to say thank you. She was like an accounting intern, but she had a car and she would drive me from high school to Intel like 45 minutes every day for like a year. So whoever that girl is and her, what did she had? She had a Ford Escort. I just props to her for that. Because I wasn't that nice. I mean, I was kind of nerdy and stuff, and she was super nice to drive me. But I got an internship, and then what did I do? What was my next hurrah? Oh, well, at that point, I sort of like, I guess I sort of gave up on my internship journey. I was like, in high school, and you're like, all right, I better get my act together. So I was like, I know I'm gonna learn Japanese, and I'm gonna move to Japan, and I'm gonna work at a consulting firm so I can get lots of business. Oh, this was my thing. I didn't know any entrepreneurs, right? And so I was like, well, how the heck am I supposed to learn all this, right? Like, I need a mentor. That's what I figured out. I was like, I got to get a mentor. That's what it all is. So then that was my plan. So I went to college, and I had taken Japanese in high school, and then I was in computer science in college. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to get my 4-year degree. See you later. I'm going to Japan. Oh, but in the middle of all this, I get a job at this place called Babcock and Jenkins Direct. And they were on their face a mail house, like, mailing out those lame-o mailer thingies. But this is circa 1999. So the guy who owned the place, what he came up with, which at the time ended up being a genius move, although when I explain it to you, it's like the dumbest thing ever. He figured out that, so like a mail house, right? Let's say you like Hewlett Packard is your customer. And they've got a bajillion people on their list. They got this brand new printer, and they send out all these, like they send out like 1 million mailers, but they have like 3 people on the sales team. And it's like, who the heck are you supposed to call, right? Well, here's what he did. He figured out that if you put up this thing called a website, and on the website, you give away this thing called a prize, and like, at the time, like, get a free iPod, win a free iPod. And then the mailer had like a 5-digit alphanumeric code on it. You go to the website, you just put in the code, and boom, you're entered in to win the iPod, right? Or whatever it is. So you send out your 1 million mailers, and then who do you call? You call the people who put the stupid code in, because what do you know? They got the piece of mail, and they are breathing, and they, whatever, they responded. And that blew up for him. He got like Hewlett Packard, Oracle, like the biggest tech titans of the time, Microsoft, all his customers. I ended up being an intern there making websites. And I actually went to college in my freshman year. I was the only person I met who was sitting in a dorm room writing code. And it was awesome. I was getting paid bank. Now, of course, the last day of the semester, the .com crash happened, the .com bubble. And I lost my internship, and they fired 100 people. And crazy, wouldn't you know, they fired the college intern as well. But that's okay, because I rallied. It's probably more than you want to know, but I'm on my soapbox now. And then I said, all right, I need a job though. So I'm going home for the summer, right? I'm going back to mom and dad's house, mom's house. And then it was, okay. But it's like economic, like carnage, right? So I was like, all right, McDonald's is here. I'm going to print out a bunch of resumes. I'm going to walk out my front door. I'm going to go door to door to door to door. And I'll put McDonald's on the end because I like McDonald's, enjoy their food. Maybe they'll give me a discount. I don't care. I'll work there. Fine. Turns out I walk into the door of this guy who has a residential long distance company, which It's weird, but at the time, you got to realize there was like a federal law that said like, so first of all, everyone had a landline. Cell phones were new. They were super expensive. Everyone had a landline. And there's a federal law that said you could not buy local and long distance from the same person because they had broken up AT&T, created this federal law. Anyways, this guy built this whole long distance company based on this, but he knew that federal law was going to get changed. And so he decided he was going to go in the answering service business. And that's, and most people listening to this won't even know what that is, but that's okay. You can ask ChatGPT. But I walk in the door, and right at that moment where he's going to start this, and we sit down, and there's no real like job for me, and I walk out of there. But as soon as I get like a block up, he just sort of realizes like maybe I'm useful for something. So he like gives me a summer job as the IT guy. And anyways, long story short, we start the answering service business together. But he is going to use Yellow Pages to advertise it because that's what got him rocking on the long distance business. But I told him, no, you're an idiot. You need to use this thing called a website, and you go out on this thing called the internet because that's where the world is going to go. And he, on one hand, said, "You're just a punk kid. What do you know?" But all right, but he was smart. He was like, "All right, I'll give you like a little bit of money, and you go to a website." Well, then right about that time, this crazy thing comes out called Google AdWords. And bam, we all know what happens next. The rest is history. We end up building a $30 million answered service, biggest in the country. Oh, and why is that? Because at the time, long distance was expensive. He had all these LD contracts, these long distance contracts, so he could move long distance calls across state lines, which at the time was ripping expensive for super cheap. And at the time, the answering service business, which if you don't know, that's taking inbound phone calls for small businesses, plumbers, blah, blah, blah. It was a very local business. Every little town had one. We nationalized that business basically. And using Google AdWords and 12 years of working night and day, 7 days a week, we crushed that business and became number one in that business. I learned, and then I left that business. Unfortunately, I sort of, let's say, got ejected from that business. And I learned what being an 18-year-old kid with very little ownership in a business meant. And it was an incredibly painful, difficult lesson for me. I basically lost everything, but I did retain but towards the end there, I sort of saw what was coming, and I started this other business called Invoice Sherpa, which was my first software business. And that's kind of what got me like out of that and into something. And then I ran that for a bit, sold it, and then I started HighLevel, and the rest is history.
Big history. Shaun,
well, if anybody wants to know everything, you just got it. Sorry.
No, I think it's so good, Shaun, because one of the things that I love about the events is being able to get to know everyone in the HighLevel community so much better on a much different level. Hearing where's the fire come from? Sure. Those are the things that really let you know and who someone is as a person outside of all the business stuff. So I think people will be really excited to hear that from you. I have to ask.
At all concerned that I am somehow exceptional in nature. They've just realized no. And I've always been happy to give this advice. If I can do it, anybody can. Because I definitely started above a lot of people only because I had a great mom who really did everything to make my life successful. But outside of that, I'm not particularly intelligent. I'm not particularly, skilled in anything. If anything, I just refuse to quit. But I think what's fun is, if I can do it, I really do think a lot of people can do it. So I think, if you're on your journey and you're getting your butt kicked, trust me, I've been there. When I got ejected from that business, I was under threat of lawsuit. And I cannot tell you, I spent an entire summer just walking around listening to the Nelson Mandela story, trying to make myself feel better. It was a depressing, difficult time. So trust me, I've been there.
But resilience, that resilience and persistence, those are definitely qualities not everyone has. And I think as business owners, that's something that's like a linking thing that we all have, because it is like a roller coaster ride. And it's nice to see, because you're at this level of success now, it's so nice to see it's not always like peaches and cream. You didn't just start your first business and everything was just going up from that point on. I think that's really
well. I've talked about this in other interviews, but like I don't ever wake up and feel better. Like I am always in a constant state of fear. And I know that at some level it's quite irrational, but I just can't shake it. It's just who I am. Like I always think the bottom's going to fall out. I'm just waiting for it, and it doesn't matter who it is and who tells me I'm wrong, but it's just irrational. I get it, but it's at some point it's just built into you. I think some of it also is, learning to sort of like, it's sort of like, do you know Mike Cooch?
Mhm.
Okay, so one thing, this is so fun. I love this story because, like you're at those events with people, and someone in the crowd, no offense, will ask what I think is a corny ass question, like, what does your day look like, and like, what's your routine and all this, right? Somebody asked that question. I have no idea who they were, but Mike was up on stage and he said, every morning I do a 60-second cold shower, and just because it sounded stupid, I said, that's it. I'm going to do that just to do it. And I've been doing this for a long time now. Now, of course, there are a couple of details that he doesn't let on. He lives in San Diego, California, and I just hate to break it to you, but you turn that sucker all the way to cold in San Diego, it just doesn't get that cold. But here in Oregon, where I live, let me tell you, it gets a lot colder than San Diego. So technically speaking, Mike, if you're listening, you're a cheater. But all that to say, what I realized from that experience, and the reason I did it is because it's something I just would never do. But one of the things I learned is over time, the pain of that actually goes down quite a bit. And I think it's an interesting, half the reason I've kept it up is I think that's like what entrepreneurship is. It's like all this stuff that initially causes just absolute galling, scarring pain and suffering, mostly emotional. Over time, it just sort of like, you're so used to it, it sort of like dials itself down. It's not that it changes or goes away or gets better. It's just your capacity to take it on and see it. It sort of becomes like an everyday event. And so I think that is really what the journey of entrepreneurship is. It's not about getting rid of the pain. It's normalizing the pain so that it doesn't become so painful.
Yeah, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Shaun, what keeps you up at night? Like, what's your worst fear right now?
Well, I mean, I'm afraid of everything, but no, I mean, I'm not really like overt. Like, I get that question a lot. I don't know. Like, I don't sit around waiting for like if I see some overt challenge on the horizon, we just go we go direct. Like, we just attack. We're not sitting around waiting on our hands for something to happen. I mean, I will say, like, there's all this, in my opinion, hullabaloo about vibe coding and all this other nonsense. And I think AI is freaking tastic. But this idea that people are going to go out and like whip up their own software, like, good luck to that. That's not happening. I mean, I mean, some people will create some cool stuff, and I think that there's some room for it. It almost feels like a utility thing. It's like, if this thing doesn't work exactly right, like, I need a calculator that does this special fancy thing. Cool, vibe code it up. But there's no like existential threat from that, in my opinion. But so that doesn't keep me up at night. But I mean, I would just say in general, nothing. And it's not because and again, it's not because I think I have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers. I just think I think I have the right, like, I'm in the right place, and I have the right people on my team. Like, I know the right people. So like, when the challenges come, I feel like I know all the people that will know the answers on how to overcome them. So I don't really worry about that. I worry that every day I'm waking up, my team's waking up, and we're doing justice by our customers. That's my worry. And so long as that happens, the future will take care of itself, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have an issue? Like, do you struggle with imposter syndrome at this point? So many people, and I do periodically, suffer with that, especially trying something new. Like, oh, do I really have the skill set to do this? Do you ever feel that? Or are you just so confident in everything that you've learned?
I mean, I don't suffer from it because I don't ever think that I'm that good. So I never get to that level. I mean, every day I mean, I don't spend a lot of time trying to pretend I'm something I'm not. So maybe I don't feel like I guess I'm just honest. Like, every day I'd be like, I have no idea if I'm going to be successful. I'm just willing to try. And I guess I'm willing to fail. And also, I mean, I'm super lucky. I have like 2 co-founders that are way better at so many things than I am. So I always just assume that if I can't do it, they can. And since they're my co-founders, I'm going to win because I'm along with them. So I think when you have like a squad, it's just a different sensation. I just assume I'm going to fail at everything, but that's okay, because I think the mission for me is getting to the right answer through the team and the community that I'm part of. I don't really feel a lot of personal motivation to somehow shine on my own. Like I don't. It's funny because like when you meet sort of official like I don't know, investor type people or banker type people and stuff like that, they have sort of this like predetermined notion of like what they're looking for, and it's generally like recently we did some interviews with some people, and they were like expecting basically the CEO and the CFO to show up, and I like brought my, of course, Robin and Bruno right there with me, and they were very stunned by all this. But the reality is like that's just how we roll. And I even got some advice from again yet again certified smart advice. Is there a way that like you can just show up with your CFO? And of course, I just think it's important to like know who you are. And so my answer was hell no. And if they want me to show up, Robin and Bruno are going to show up too. Otherwise, they can go to hell. Like I don't care. I don't need their money. I don't need their time. Like if they want me, I come one way and one way only. If you don't like it, too bad. And I guess for me, it's just you got to know who you are, be okay with that, and not feel like you have to be something you're not. Because you're right. I would never show up and feel confident not feeling imposter syndrome. So I just try to keep myself away from that by not trying.
Well, you chose good partners for sure.
I lucked. That's another thing. I just want to be careful that people don't think I make any decisions. Half this crap is luck. You just luck into people. Like I met Varun 20 years ago or something. I just happened to get a chance to work with him. And then Robin was a cold call for, and a hell of a cold call, because it wasn't just, hey, it's not, oh, hey, I'm a genius. I want to work with you guys. It was like, hey, here's a bunch of free, useful, super amazing advice. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to put my agency on hold and go out on the road and spend my own money for a freaking year to help promote you guys, even though you've told me you're not paying me a dime and you didn't tell me I don't get, you're not giving me any promises of equity or anything. Like you just, when you run into exceptional people, you just know, and you just got to like latch onto them, as fast as possible.
That's so true.
The three amigos, for sure. So Shaun, you've come so far in the last 5 to 6 years. And so when you think about kind of a 5-year plan and you think about the vision of where HighLevel might be in 5 years, what does that look like? I can't even imagine the capacity to think of 5 years from where it began to, double.
I didn't know we were going to be here, so I sure as heck don't know where we're going to be there. But
is there a goal? Is there a goal for that?
Well, world domination is definitely the goal. But it's getting there the right way. So here's what's so fun about what we do, in my opinion. Yeah. Again, it's not us, it's the community. It's like all of us together. So all the way back to the very beginning, like what was our goal? Like Vern and I did HighLevel 1.0 to help small businesses. That has not changed, actually. And what we figured out is, in order to help small businesses, you need to help the people helping small businesses. And we have that model. And there's no reason on planet Earth that every small business can't get help through all of us, right? So my job is to keep making the product better, to keep expanding the product. So like not next year, it's this year. This year, we'll add stuff like ticketing and project management, and we'll keep expanding the product and ERP and all this. Our mission is to add 500 new engineers this year and just build the heck out of the product and keep making it better, but along the same exact model where it has to enable the people who use it to walk into any SMB anywhere on planet Earth and say, hey, I'm here to help. I can actually achieve an outcome for you. Forget all this, like software is cool and all, yeah, whatever. It's just tools. But I, in conjunction with these great tools, can give you what you're looking for, which is more customers, 5-star reviews, higher rank on Google, whatever, more efficient operation. Don't care. Whatever their goal is, it's the combinatorial of the software plus the person that is creating that business outcome. So for me, I don't see why that's not what we're doing in 5 years, just in an ever bigger, stronger way. But it's so important to me that the same things that are true today, as far as us enabling people to then help those small businesses, is true. And we haven't changed any of that.
Shaun, before we go today, what would you say to the agency owner who is struggling to position the AI solutions to the local business owner who's just
Perfect.
terrified or has a very negative
Stop talking
impression
about
of AI?
AI. Stop talking about AI, because what you need to understand is like, and it is a very tough position to be an agency owner, because you are one part practitioner and professional, but you're another part salesperson and like enabler of success for small business. But I think oftentimes the number one thing we need to do is put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, right? So if you do that with any small business and ask yourself like, okay, AI is here. What has that changed for the small business owner in terms of what they want, right? And the answer I think you will find is nothing. They want for the same things they've always wanted for. But you know what? This is a massive advantage to you if you do this correctly, which is you recognize that their wants and needs have not changed. Your job is to still fulfill these outcomes, but your advantage is you can now use AI to do it. What you need to do though is stay 1,000 miles away from trying to connect the two. They don't need to know. It's kind of like, listen, like tomorrow, if you hire like a construction person or a remodeler or something to come in and do something in your house, and let's just say that the thing that used to take 10 hours now takes 1 hour, and it used to take 10 tools, and now there's a machine and a robot that comes and does all the work. Like, why does that matter to you, right? Like, it doesn't. You just wanted that same outcome. Now, of course, you hope that there's some benefit to you, maybe like it gets done faster, it's cheaper, whatever. But in reality, let's say they were super greedy and they charged the exact same thing they always did, even though it's faster and cheaper for them. Net, I still don't think you'd care. I still think you would just be super pumped that you got the thing done faster and it got done well. That's what you care about, because your outcome, your need there, like, oh, I want to build a shed or something, I don't know, that doesn't change. The business owner's needs and outcomes don't change. You just need to enable those outcomes now using AI. So if you're an agency, think about how do you use this new advantage so that you can deliver those same outcomes in a better, faster, cheaper way. And, my strong advice to you is if you get an advantage to, at least split the difference and pass half that advantage on. So if it's, twice as fast, great. If it's twice as, half the price, pass some of that savings on your customer, whatever it is. But if nothing else, don't tell them about AI. It's sort of like back in the day, people like, oh, well, I came in and I told them I have this amazing CRM system. And then they told me they have a CRM and all this. And I'd be like, what are you doing? Stop telling them about the tools. Stop telling them about software. They don't care. And in fact, welcome to it. You just invited the worst argument on planet Earth. It's like if you and I who know nothing about heart surgery now have a really raucous debate about the best heart surgery and the best techniques. We both don't know what we're doing. But the difference is, in that case, you're trying to sell something to someone, and now you're arguing with your customer. No, that's not the way you do this. What you do is you talk about the outcomes, because they don't want software anyways. They hate, and by the way, they hate their CRM. They won't tell you that, but they feel stupid because they got sold it. They can't use it. They don't know what to do, because why did they buy it though? They were looking for an outcome. They didn't get the outcome. And what you need to sell them is the outcome. And they don't need to know what tools you use. They shouldn't care. Just like the person you hired to build the shed. You never ask them, like, do you use Makita tools? Because if you don't use Makita, I'm not letting you build my shed. I'm a DeWalt guy. You never say that. It doesn't work like that. You just say, can you build a kick-ass shed? Okay, good. You're hired. That's what you need to do. So do not talk about AI. Use AI, but do not talk about AI. Talk about the outcomes. Put yourself in their position. Talk about what it is that matters to them, and you'll do great.
So basically, you're saying the same thing that we've all been saying for several years, to stop selling tools and start selling solutions.
Yep, indeed. Exactly. It's actually what all of us, I think the problem is when you're not in the position of wanting something, for some reason our brains like switch and we change and we act differently. But when we're trying to get something, none of us give a darn almost ever, what the tools of the trade are. We want the outcome, and that's what people are hiring you for. And I think don't forget that. And your mission is to create benefits and outcomes and solutions. How you do that is up to you. And if anything, just imagine, you go and listen, you went to you went to the doctor and you needed a procedure done, and they told you how they were going to do it. And you started arguing with them about how they were going to do it. Like, at some point, if I was that doctor, what you need is the confidence to be like, listen, dude, this is what I kick ass at. This is what I know how to do. And if you don't know how I do it, there's the door. I mean, they shouldn't be arguing with you But what I find is most customers don't try to argue. People open the door to that because they'll invite you in because you'll say the agency will say something like, well, I use this or I use that or whatever. They open the door to that argument, and I think if you just don't bother to open the door, you won't get into those discussions. Just focus on the outcomes. Focus on the KPIs that matter to those businesses. Like, I rank here, I want to rank there. I get this many 5-star reviews, I want that many 5-star reviews. I get this many customers in a month, I want that many customers in a month. Stay on those topics. And I get it. As agencies, it's kind of boring, right? Because it's all we ever talk about. But God, I hate to break it to you, that's all every single customer, every single month, that's all they really want. I mean, boo-hoo. Like, you solve that problem, like, you'll be in there for life. I mean, we still have the Alpine HVAC guys doing automated reviews. And, I could cry about the fact that all we do is get them more reviews and they just get more customers from it and they just keep growing. And man, wouldn't it be cool to do like email campaigns for them and websites and landing pages? No, I don't care. They pay me. They're happy. That's all that matters. You should do the same.
Shaun Clark, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And we'll be seeing each other soon. If not in October.
I know we will. I know we will. Better have that hug ready.
For sure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
All
Shaun.
right.
Well, I mean, how do you get a better guest in the HighLevel community than Shaun Clark?
Nailed it. He was great.
Mm-hmm.
Just hearing the success story of how far he's come from that, being a child, wanting to be an entrepreneur, to really having one of the top technology companies on the globe. Love that.
Don't you feel a little, because we've both been in HighLevel for many years now, and don't you feel like it's like, I'm so proud of him? Sounds so cheesy because, like, who am I to be proud of him? But it's just when you know someone who has just worked really hard over the years to build their business. This is also why I love being a coach, because business owners are just a unique, I just love them. There's something unique about business owners. But when you see someone who's just working so hard and they have this vision, and it's like he said, it's surpassed what he even thought that it was going to be. But to see them, all three of them, at this level of success, even Paulson and Kelsey and all the people in the HighLevel team, just to see the progress and see how it's grown is just, I don't really know how to explain it, besides I just feel super proud of them.
I do too. Because like we were talking about earlier, I remember being in, the Facebook group. And like I said, Shaun was support. If you had a question, if you had a problem and it wasn't resolved in the group, he jumped on a support call with you every single time. And so he really was, he was the coder and the support and the face and he wore all the hats and did it brilliantly. And you can tell he still does. But there's, just to see the success that they've had, I agree. I'm 100% proud of them because he put in the work. He did. He showed up. I'm sure there were times where he thought, I just want to quit, but he didn't. He stayed with it, and look where he is today. Mm-hmm. We all wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't, for his tenacity. So,
yeah. And, we talk to all of these like HighLevel agency owners, or I say agency as kind of a generic term because really there's so many uses for HighLevel, but we talk to all of them and they are just like, the way that their lives have changed because of what HighLevel allows us to do. There's so many aspects of it that are just the duplication and the automations and everything in one spot. We're working with clients and sometimes they churn, but we can keep earning reoccurring income with just the software. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the things that we are now able to do. But it's like, it's not just the software, it's the opportunities that it creates that really does. I mean, it changed my life for sure. I know that you feel the same way.
Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. Well,
And I do have to say, though, I do have to tell the story because I think that I didn't bring this up in the episode or the interview with Shaun, but when I reached out to him, I sent him a message on Facebook and I said, "Hey, Shaun, would you like to be on the podcast?" And then I deleted it because I had found the proper channels to request, them. They're big now. It's not like before. So I had deleted the message, but he saw that I sent him a message and that I had deleted it. So he responded, which I thought is awesome anyway, but he responded and he said, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I was going to ask you if you wanted to be on my podcast, but I found the information, so I'll just request it that way." And he goes, "No, don't bother. Here's my calendar anytime." And I just think that's Shaun, that's who he is. And it's not something that he just does because, I'm an affiliate of HighLevel or Marla is an agency owner. It's that he does that because that's who he is. And he really does value the user and the relationship and community. So I major props to Shaun for keeping that in the forefront. I think at his level, it could be very easily to be blinded by success and money. And he is still very user community centric, which I have total respect for.
Same. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome guy.
All right. Awesome episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us for today's episode of the Leverage and Lead podcast. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and join the Leverage and Lead private community for live coaching 4 days a week at leverageandlead.com. We'll see you inside.